Hello, friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful day out there. Summer's definitely in full swing. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the WSIB's mental stress injuries policy. It can be a bit confusing. Some of the elements that are considered in the mental stress injuries policy are also in the chronic pain disability policy and psychotraumatic disability. So I just wanted to go over what is actually specific to mental stress injuries. And if you're going through the situation yourself or know someone who is, then you'll have a bit of an idea of what's considered, what's accepted in the policy, and how to go about making a claim. You know what? No one should feel unsafe in the workplace, bottom line. Yes, there are certain types of jobs that are high risk and stressful by nature, but it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody should feel like they're in a stressful environment that isn't obviously good for the mental health and for the overall health. So it's important to claim for benefits if you're experiencing this, and there are certain programs that the WSIB has and support services that they can provide. Over the years, over about 30 years in dealing with injured workers in this industry, I think we handled about maybe a dozen mental stress claims. And I'm surprised because we handled thousands of claims over 30 years. And I think maybe there could be somewhat of a stigma attached to making a claim for benefits for mental stress, or maybe just the lack of knowledge, which is quite possible. So I'm just going to read from the policy. I'm going to put it on the screen here for you to see it. I'm not sure which side, probably this one. Just to give you an idea of the situation, circumstances that give rise to a mental stress claim under the WSIB Act, or the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, rather. So what is it? Okay, so being subjected to harassment, which is any behavior that someone knows or can be reasonably expected to know, is not welcome, such as unwanted sexual advances, persistent following, or invasion of physical space. Another one is being subjected to bullying, which is a common form of harassment that includes behavior such as intimidation, malicious rumors, gossip or innuendo, social isolation or coercion, humiliation, persistent insults, slurs, and or derogatory names. These are all situations that basically add up to bullying, and that shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be subjected to that. Working in a job that is highly stressful by nature, such as one that carries responsibility over matters involving life or death, and or that involves routine work in extremely dangerous circumstances. I can see this in, for instance, the mining industry, some construction type jobs that are very stressful and very dangerous. So prevalent or could produce mental stress situations. Witnessing a fatality or accident. So of those dozen or so cases that we handled through my paralegal firm over the years, they were ambulance attendants and police officers. And of course, they had witnessed some horrific things in their job, which led to mental stress claims that we were able to handle. So others are witnessing or being subjected to armed robbery, witnessing or being subjected to a hostage taking, being subjected to physical violence, receiving death threats or threats of physical violence, such as bomb threats or being confronted with a weapon, being subjected to harassment that includes physical violence or threats of physical violence, such as escalation of verbal abuse into traumatic physical abuse. This can actually occur. I've seen it happen. Being put in a life-threatening or potentially life-threatening situation, such as by someone tampering with safety equipment or causing you to something dangerous or to do something dangerous. Also seen that happen where a coworker can sabotage or attempt to sabotage other coworkers, obviously for some stupid reason. And being exposed to multiple traumatic events in the course of work over time. And as I said, some of the ones that we dealt with were ambulance attendants and police officers. Some of the examples that the WSIB provides for mental stress at work are a teacher regularly subjected to demeaning comments from her vice principal, quite often in front of her teaching colleagues, and develops an anxiety disorder. As a result, I'm going to talk a little bit about anxiety disorder. Housekeeping attendant, regularly subjected to inappropriate and harassing comments from coworkers. He attempts to confront the coworker, but the harassment continues and in fact escalates or increases, and he develops depression disorder as a result. I'm also going to talk a little bit about that. And I mentioned this one before. A paramedic called to the scene of a fatal multiple car accident and afterwards suffers nightmares, flashbacks for a prolonged period of time. So these are all of the circumstances that produce mental stress as described in the WSIB's policy. However, there are some that are excluded or they're not covered within the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, such as decisions made by an employer that could be stressful, such as demotion or promoting someone else when you feel more qualified for the job, or termination, or higher productivity expectations. These aren't generally covered as they are employment situations. Now, if you are experiencing this type of a situation, there are other organizations that you can file a claim with, which is Human Rights Association or the Employment Standards Act. So you're not entirely not covered. They're just not covered under the WSIB Act, unless the employer's actions include harassment and bullying. And so if that's the case, then that would cover it, and you can certainly make a claim. Which leads me to the next point, which is how do you apply? So it's basically the same as if you were applying for any other type of accident or illness. You complete a Form 6, which is a worker's report of injury or illness, and fill in the information and submit it to the WSIB. And then, of course, the WSIB will do their own inquiries, investigation, and whatnot, and get information, additional information from you, from your doctor, the employer, or witnesses involved to make a determination regarding entitlement and any benefits and services that would flow from that. But earlier I was talking about depression or mental health issues that arise or could arise from some of these situations. And so in two of the tips that I have for you, one of them is if you find yourself being subjected or in the situations that I've just illustrated, the number one thing is to report it. Whether you report it to your employer or a coworker or your spouse or a friend or a relative or your doctor, you need to report it. Now, if your supervisor is the owner of the company and you feel somewhat intimidated by that, report it to someone else. Your doctor would be the most appropriate, or even a coworker. But it's important to report it, because when the WSIB looks at these matters, and some of this can happen over a period of time, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that happened once and there was an incident and you didn't do anything about it. But if it happens again, it would be in your best interest to have that other incident registered somewhere, or even notes with the date, who the person was or persons, and make a note of that in a journal, or again, as I said, to your doctor or a coworker or a friend. It's important to report it to someone. And if it happens multiple times, make sure that you report it, because that information is going to be very helpful down the road if you need to pursue this. And the other one is the tip number 2, which is part of tip number 1, is really speak to your doctor. It's imperative that you do that. Whether you believe it's going to happen again, or the matter is going to be resolved, it's a one-time thing or not. If it doesn't happen again, that's great. But if it does, and multiple times, if your doctor knows about it and has it in his or her chart, when you do file a claim, then you have that information to back you up. Okay, so don't be part of the stigma and then down the road find yourself in a situation where you are requiring treatment from a health professional and possibly time off work and not be able to get that covered. So friends, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in the area of mental stress. There have been some changes made to the chronic mental stress policy and traumatic mental stress policies over the past 5 years or so that go into more specifics about chronic mental stress and traumatic mental stress. And I'll probably cover that down the road in another video or two. I didn't want to overwhelm this video with all of that. I just really wanted to highlight what's covered, what can be looked at, and how you can protect yourself right now if you're in that situation to get a claim going. Okay? So friends, just another shout out about the class action lawsuit that we are handling through WSIBsettlements.com. And it applies to any one of you who, or someone you know, who received a future economic loss award under the Bill 162 legislation, or partial loss of earnings benefit under Bill 99. And those benefits were calculated based on the WSIB's deemed practices. So in other words, they've deemed what you're able to do and how much you're able to earn. And that deeming resulted in a reduced future economic loss award or loss of earnings benefit. And so if that happened to you or someone you know, please let them know. And here's the address to WSIBsettlements.com on the screen here. Visit our website and go on. There's a pop-up banner. Just click there and go on the page, and it'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing. We believe that the board's deeming practices that affected individuals with respect to fell awards and loss of earnings benefits were illegal. We do not believe that it is part of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act or the Workers' Compensation Amended Act, and needs to be challenged, and that's precisely what we're doing. We are preparing to challenge this matter in the courts. So if you find yourself in that situation, by all means, have a look. It's not going to cost you anything, but find out what the information is and whether or not you'd like to register for that. And I'll just let you know that by registering, it doesn't mean that your information is going to be provided with anyone. It's not. You're the only one that is going to know that you've registered, as well as us at WSIBsettlements.com. But other registrants, or even the lawyers that will be working on it. No one will know until we reach the number of registrations that we believe will give us enough support to apply for a class action lawsuit. And only at that time will we then ask if you are prepared to move ahead with it. Okay, so by registering now, that means you're just going to be in the loop in terms of the information that we are gathering and disseminating, so that you're in the know, and then you can determine at some point whether or not you want to pursue that. All right, friends. So anyway, thanks again for listening to this video. I hope that you can share it with others that you believe could benefit from this comment. And as always, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. Nobody's going to ask you for money. All it is a click of your button, and you're subscribed. You get notifications every time I come out with a new video. In 3 months, I think I'm close to 60 videos, and I've got 2+ years worth of more experience of 30 years of dealing with WSIB and the Workplace Safety and Insurance Appeals Tribunal in this industry. And so I want to be able to continue to help those who can benefit from this content. And if you like what you're listening to, by all means, give me a thumbs up. Give me feedback in the comments. I always like to see that. And if you have a particular issue you'd like me to cover, by all means, let me know in the comments, or send me an email at joemachado@wsibsettlements.com, and I'll do my best to include it in one of my videos. My role here, my mission, is to touch every single injured worker in this province and let them know that there's help, that if they run into a claim, or they have a claim, or they had a claim 30 years ago or 20 years ago or recently, that we're here, we can help. And by all means, visit WSIBsettlements.com. There's a great source of tools and support there to help you manage your WSIB claim. All right, friends, as usual, thank you for taking the time to listen to this video, and have an amazing afternoon. Take care.